Part 36. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 352. The Red Fox was stunned. After taking the space jade object, the scene inside the jade object immediately appeared in my mind. The value of the things inside is enough to exceed your budget figure above. Sister Honghu, take out the things and return the jade to me. Len Ning looked at Honghu and said. Okay. Red Fox suppressed the excitement in his heart and hurriedly took out the crystal core given by Len Ning and put it into his own space ring, and then returned the space jade to Len Ning. So arrogant. Just give it when you say it, and cash it out immediately. Such courage. Miss, you are really rich. Red Fox touched the space ring that contained a huge amount of money at the moment, and looked at Len Ning with envy. Len Ning raised the corners of his mouth. Zhou Tao and the others kept up their good work and handed me all the supplies they got back from the trip. I gave them to Uncle Liang directly and sold them in the market. Crystal Core and the others also thought they were in trouble, and the low-level ones also gave them to me together. Speaking of which, they were really not lazy, and the things they got back were valuable. Especially for things like space jade, gold jewelry, etc., no one has ever carefully calculated how many there are. There is also a vegetable base that has sold a lot of materials to the market after completing the supply of materials to the military headquarters, and the income is not bad. What is good is that it is very impressive. Excluding the military soldiers, the number of superpowers and ordinary people in Thunder Base is quite large. The vegetables, grains, and fruits eaten by so many people are all provided by the vegetable base. Although the price is not set high, the total amount is not small. Red Fox admitted that she was a little sore. Hey, but my current financial situation is probably not going to last long. Len Ning caught a glimpse of Red Fox's expression and continued. What's wrong? Red Fox asked. Aren't we planning to recruit soldiers soon? My eldest brother asked me to be the 5th hall master of the base. I can't let him down, Len Ning said with some helplessness. In fact, I was very excited. She did all this just to have money to recruit soldiers and become the 5th hall master of the Thunder Base. It would be strange not to be excited. The Red Fox was stunned. Recruiting soldiers, then he asked doubtfully. Len Ning nodded. Originally, my eldest brother said that my brothers and sisters should allocate some of my troops to each other. But I thought it would not be good to just pick up your ready-made troops. So I planned to spend some money to recruit my own troops, Len Ning said. The Red Fox was startled. The look in Len Ning's eyes changed instantly. At this moment, she felt a little distressed and understood their boss better. The young lady recruits her own troops, which requires unimaginable manpower and material resources. Thinking about it this way, it is understandable that the boss gave the young lady so many things and was so generous to her. When the young lady did this, no one, whether it was her or the other 3 in the 4-color group, dared to raise any objections. On the contrary, Miss Vegetable Base unconditionally supplies the military with supplies, and the pharmaceutical factory gives half of its output to the military. They should be grateful for these actions. Miss, actually you don't have to dash. Seeing such an optimistic and generous Len Ning, Red Fox couldn't help but want to say something, but stopped as soon as the words came out. As a sister, she felt that she should give Len Ning some good advice. But as the leader of the Red Fox Hall of Thunder Base, she also has to fight for the rights and interests of the people under her command. Therefore, it was better for her to say nothing. Len Ning smiled at Red Fox. Don't worry, Sister Honghu. With the support of the vegetable base and the help of my brothers from the Manman team, I won't be any worse at what I do. Besides, apart from my status as the 5th hall master in the future, I am still Big Brother's sister and your sister. The Thunder Base is one, and I am lucky to be able to do something for Big Brother and the base. This was what she was saying in her heart. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 353. Yeah. Come on. Red Fox's eyes were a little moved. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, who would have imagined that the timid young lady before the end of the world would become like this now? The light is so bright that it makes people afraid to look directly at it. Red Fox took back the document Len Ning handed him and put it back in the folder. Then I will follow the arrangements written in the plan. Okay. Please, Sister Hunghu, Len Ning said with a smile. Don't be polite to me, Red Fox said and stood up. People from the equipment department are coming over for a meeting later, so come together. Len Ning was stunned. Red Fox had already raised his wrist to look at his watch. There's still half an hour left. I have to make some preparations. You can go to the A406 conference room later. Then the Red Fox hurried out. Len Ning raised his hand and finally gave up the idea of calling Red Fox. Sister Hunghu is so busy, she'd better not delay her. There's a meeting in half an hour. She still has some time, so she needs to read more information to at least get a rough idea. Thinking of this, Len Ning sat back on the office chair. After reading the information for a while and guessing that the time was almost up, Len Ning packed up his desk and went to the A406 conference room. The conference room door was open, and several people were having a heated discussion inside. Seeing Len Ning's arrival, everyone stopped discussing. But it was only for a moment. After seeing Len Ning just entering the door without saying anything, they continued to argue. Len Ning listened to their argument and knew that they were discussing the manufacturing of equipment parts. A fat man said that he could hire mercenaries to look for him outside. The thin man thought it would be faster to just use the drawings he drew. The rest of the people stood in separate lines and argued, but no one could convince anyone. Len Ning walked directly to the conference table, pulled out a chair, and sat down. Listened to a few people playing to their heart's content. After a while, several people stopped arguing instantly. Len Ning looked towards the door and saw the Red Fox. The Red Fox at this moment was different from what she had seen before, with a serious face and a cold temperament. As soon as she arrived, everyone who had been arguing just now stopped immediately, stood up, and bowed politely to say hello. Only then did a few people notice that the cute rookie, Len Ning, they thought was not standing up. Just when I couldn't help but mourn Len Ning in my heart, I saw their Red Fox Hall master nodded towards the rookie. Miss, then she shouted. Everyone's foreheads were suddenly banged. Little miss? This little rookie turned out to be? They actually ignored the young lady and even argued in front of the young lady until their faces turned red and their necks thickened. God, why didn't anyone tell them before that Miss was coming to the meeting? Well, Sister Hunghu, let's get started, Len Ning said with a smile. It seemed as if he didn't take it to heart at all that everyone just ignored him and even made a lot of noise. Okay, Red Fox glanced at the trembling people, then went to sit down. Everyone sat down nervously, all with their heads lowered. No one dared to look at Red Fox or Len Ning. Ahem, miss, I invited you to attend, and you also want to know more about the equipment of the pharmaceutical factory. Red Fox coughed lightly and said. You guys should introduce yourselves to the lady one by one. Seeing the strange expressions on several people's faces, Red Fox guessed that these people might not have recognized Len Ning's identity before. In order to avoid embarrassment for both parties, he said. Immediately, the fat man with the loudest voice stood up. Hello, madam, my name is Suda, and I am currently in charge of the equipment production for this project. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 354. Yes, Len Ning nodded and motioned for Suda to sit down. Seeing that Len Ning didn't say anything, Suda felt a little relieved and sat back. Hello, madam, I'm Chen Yu. I'm currently in charge of the equipment design for this project. The thin man stood up and said. Okay. Sit down. Len Ning still said nothing. Then the other people stood up and introduced themselves to Len Ning. Seeing that Len Ning's face was gentle and showed no signs of displeasure from beginning to end, everyone slowly calmed down. The young lady is now famous, and there are many rumors about her. First of all, as soon as she returned to the base, she dealt with those who had offended her in the mercenary union, and her personality was extremely difficult to deal with. Secondly, she became the director of the vegetable base by virtue of her status. Just when everyone was not optimistic about her, under her drastic reforms, the vegetable base developed rapidly. Not only did it solve the problem of feeding everyone in the military department, but it also allowed everyone in the Thunder base to have full stomachs. Just when everyone began to reflect and felt that their young lady was a kind-hearted and capable person, news came out from the military that the young lady had an extremely talented person. The young lady actually has dual superpower attributes of auxiliary system and combat system, and her strength has reached the 4th level, even ahead of Lei Xiao's superpower level at that time. What's even more frightening is that there are rumors on the market that the lady's wood-type spiritual pet seems to have mysterious power and can help those with powers who have reached the peak stage to advance. The reason why this rumor spread is that the members of a team called the Manman team formed by the young lady are all powerhouses of level 3 or above. Today, this mercenary team is already the #1 mercenary team in the Thunder base. Thanks to their high-profile behavior, many of the superpowers in the base know them and have received their help. From their mouths, everyone also learned about different ladies. In short, their lady is really an amazing person, just shy of being as legendary as their Mr. Lei. This time they were invited by the leader of the Red Fox Hall and assigned by their superiors to work on a pharmaceutical factory project. Although they knew in advance that this project had something to do with the lady, they never thought that they would be able to sit at a conference table with the lady so close to discuss matters. Also, the young lady's appearance is really different from what they thought. Let's get started. Len Ning had already looked at Red Fox. Red Fox nodded and immediately took charge of the meeting. With Honghu and Len Ning present, Suda and Chen Yu naturally didn't dare to argue like before. But he still doesn't give in to anyone. Seeing the two people talking, their tone became irritable, and the Red Fox's face turned a little dark. Just as he was about to say a warning, he heard Len Ning speak. Ahem. Len Ning interrupted the two of them directly. The two people who were arguing fell silent instantly after hearing the sound. Seeing the displeased Red Fox and Len Ning looking at them calmly, their hearts sank and their faces turned a little pale. They gave each other "I blame you" looks, and no one dared to say another word. "Suda, you say it first," Len Ning said. Seeing Chen Yu looking at Suda with a happy face, Len Ning said in a deep voice, "When he is talking, no one is allowed to interrupt." The words were not high-pitched, but full of force. It was like a heavy hammer was swung, hanging on everyone's hearts. How could they forget that the person in front of them is a young lady? Although she has always been gentle and polite since she entered the house, as the second largest legend in the Thunder base, how could she really be as easy to talk to as she seems? The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 355. What's more, the leader of the Red Fox Hall is here. Even if there is no lady, the leader of the Red Fox Hall can still drink enough for them to drink a pot when he gets angry. Chen Yu didn't dare to look at Suda anymore and lowered his head. Suda did not dare to be complacent with Chen Yu anymore and hurriedly talked about his thoughts. Now, the meeting was finally able to proceed normally. After Suda finished speaking, Len Ning asked Chen Yu to speak. Chen Yu waited for the opportunity and hurriedly expressed his thoughts, and refuted some of Suda's views. Although Suda was dissatisfied, he did not dare to speak again due to Len Ning's presence. After Chen Yu finished speaking, Len Ning let everyone express their opinions in turn. After going around, although Len Ning didn't understand everything, he got a general idea. The most troubling point for you right now is that you don't have the parts for the core production equipment. One wants the other party to make them, which is more controllable. The other wants to get them directly from the outside world, which saves time and effort. Also, if you design and produce it by yourself, you don't have much control over the probability of success because of limited tools. You are afraid of delaying the construction period, Len Ning said. Their eyes lit up. As expected of a young lady, she grasps the core accurately. The Red Fox was also a little surprised. Suda and Chenyu kept talking about some terminology, such as cause and effect, and she almost got caught up in it. The young lady actually captured the core with such precision. What do the required parts look like? If we go out to look for them, where are we most likely to find them? Len Ning asked directly. Suda and Chenyu looked at each other, but neither of them spoke. Len Ning frowned and was about to continue talking when Chenyu stood up. Then he handed a design draft to Len Ning. Miss, the last few pages here are the design drawings of the parts, then he said hurriedly. Len Ning glanced at Chenyu. Started reading. The result, of course I can't understand it. Putting down the document, Len Ning looked at Chenyu. Are you willing to let you go outside to look for parts? Then he asked directly. Chenyu was startled. At the same time, everyone in the conference room was also shocked. There are almost no ordinary people going out in the Thunder base. Chenyu has no powers at all. Letting him go out would be dangerous on the one hand, and it would also drag down the people with powers who are traveling with him. Moreover, as time goes by, the zombies in the outside world are much more powerful now than at the beginning of the apocalypse. The places where parts can be found are far away from the Thunder base, so retrieving them is not easy. Seeing that Chenyu's face was a little pale, Len Ning continued, I will send a manman team to escort you. As soon as these words came out, everyone was shocked again. The barbarian team. That mercenary team that is rumored to be ranked number 1 in terms of strength and whose members are all powerful third-level superpowers. Otherwise, I'll go. Looking at Chenyu, who was feeling anxious, Suda stood up immediately. I recognize those parts too. Although he often quarreled with Chenyu, he never really got angry with Chenyu. Chenyu treated him the same way. They were colleagues and friends before the end of the world, and have always been best partners. The superiors pay special attention to this pharmaceutical factory. Not only the master of the Red Fox Hall, but also the young lady now personally comes to inquire about it. Someone has to do this. In fact, if he had more confidence in this matter, he would not keep arguing with Chenyu and insist on suggesting to go out to get parts. But now that all kinds of equipment and tools are scarce in the base, he really has no idea. Forget it, let him take this trip. Anyway, he was the one who insisted on going outside to get the parts. In addition, Chenyu is different from him. He has a family and is timid. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 356. If he really wanted to follow the manman team outside, he would not be able to move even if he encountered zombies. After much deliberation, it was more appropriate for him to go at this time. Chenyu looked at Suda with a struggle on his face. If it's just him, it doesn't matter if he goes. But he still has a wife and children. Now the whole family lives on his salary. If he dies outside, how can they survive? No, you have to keep the production parts. Before Chenyu could say anything, Len Ning already said. These words seemed to hit everyone's hearts with a heavy hammer. The project cannot be delayed. The safest way is to work on both sides without delaying either, Len Ning said solemnly. There was no emotion in his eyes. Red Fox looked at Len Ning, with a flash of appreciation in his eyes. What Len Ning said was exactly what she thought. Suda wanted to say something for Chenyu, but in the end he couldn't do it under Len Ning's gaze. Okay, I'll go, Chenyu suddenly said. Chenyu Suda couldn't help calling Chenyu, trying to stop him. Chen Yu gave Suda a smile and stopped him from continuing. Miss, you are right. This is the most ideal plan at the moment. A flash of restlessness flashed in Suda's eyes, but he had no way to vent it. He was the one who insisted on going outside to get the parts, so why was it Chen Yu who went out to get them in the end? If Chen Yu really has a problem, how can he escape the condemnation in his heart? How can we face Chen Yu's family? It has nothing to do with you. We all gave what we think is the most correct judgment. There was a smile on Chen Yu's face. For the sake of being a friend, if something happens to me, help me take care of my family in my free time. Chen Yu took a breath and looked at Su Dadao with a relieved look on his face. Su Dali struggled extremely. Len Ning looked at the red fox. Are these two people too sensational? Although it was dangerous outside, the people sent to escort him were all third-level masters, so the probability of danger was extremely low. The red fox smiled helplessly. Ever since she took over these two people, she discovered that these two people are talented and have such temperament that they are indeed. When he is good, he is as tough as wearing a pair of pants. When he is bad, he can scold the opponent for 8 generations. What people say about rejoicing in enemies is probably this. Ahem, this matter is not as serious as you think. Before departure, I will instruct the Manman team to protect your safety. Len Ning still couldn't bear it and comforted Chen Yu. Also, if something happens to you unfortunately, I will be responsible for your family. Chen Yu's face was filled with excitement. Thank you, miss. Thank you, miss. The parts are here first. Let's talk about the installation of the equipment. Len Ning started the next topic directly. The following meeting went much smoother. Within an hour, Len Ning finalized many details with everyone. Her powerful thinking and judgment shocked everyone. Everyone sighed in their hearts, Miss is indeed a miss. Really awesome. After the meeting, Len Ning and Honghu left together. Miss, you really impressed me today. After everyone left, Red Fox finally had a smile on his face. She is actually a person who likes to laugh, but she rarely smiles in front of her subordinates. As a superior person, being serious will appear solemn and more convincing. Len Ning did this very well. Sister Honghu is so complimentary. Len Ning smiled mischievously, looking completely different from before. Thank you, Longji combination, and thank you for the baby's energy drink. 3. Epsilon. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 357. Red Fox raised his wrist and looked at his watch. The decoration team has been arranged to go to the villa area. Do you want to come with me to have a look? Then he said to Len Ning. Okay, Len Ning certainly agreed. After all, it is her own thing. Sister Honghu is so caring and does it herself. She has invited her, so how could she not go? Okay, let's go. Red Fox smiled and walked ahead. Len Ning hurriedly took 2 steps to catch up with Red Fox, and took the opportunity to hold Red Fox's arm. Red Fox froze, then smiled, and cooperated with Len Ning. The 2 beauties, one tall and one short, became the most beautiful scenery in the building. People also unexpectedly discovered that the ice beauty Red Fox Hall Master in their eyes could actually laugh. After leaving the military headquarters, Honghu and Len Ning continued walking towards the villa area while talking and laughing. Xiaoning, what's going on between you and the boss? Suddenly the Red Fox asked seemingly unintentionally. Len Ning's body stiffened for a moment, and then her face turned red. Oh. There really is something going on. Red Fox seized the opportunity and said in surprise. It's so rare, the little girl has finally enlightened. When did it happen? Does the boss know? Or have the 2 of them fallen in love behind their backs? Thinking of the scene he saw in Lei Lei's office yesterday, the more Red Fox thought about it, the more likely he felt that Len Ning was already with Lei Lei. Although they were brothers and sisters in name, the movements and demeanor of the young lady and the eldest brother at that time were obviously much closer than that of brother and sister. "Oh, Sister Honghu, don't talk nonsense," Len Ning said shyly and looked around, fearing that what Honghu just said would be heard by others. Looking at Len Ning's guilty thief look, Red Fox couldn't be happier. "I really didn't dash." Seeing the Red Fox laughing non-stop, Len Ning blushed and said, "Brother doesn't know that I have that idea." He finally admitted what he was thinking. Len Ning regards Honghu as a sister, and now she is even more like a best friend. She was confident that if she told Red Fox about this, she might be able to give her some advice. Sure enough, the Red Fox's eyes flashed. "You said, boss, he doesn't know that you have thoughts about him?" Then he asked in surprise. "In the past 2 years, they all know what the boss is thinking, but this silly girl in front of them must not have noticed it at all." Surprisingly, looking at this girl's intention, not only did she not see what the boss was thinking, but she herself, she also had a problem with their boss. Haha, interesting, interesting. But they all underestimated the boss. The boss deserves to be the boss. High, too high. Len Ning blushed and nodded. "Sister Honghu, please don't tell anyone about this," Len Ning said quickly. "I'm afraid that my eldest brother will be angry with me if he finds out." Red Fox almost laughed. "Is he angry?" "Haha, he was probably so happy that his jaw dropped with joy." "Oh, don't laugh. I'm telling you seriously." Len Ning blushed and looked at the Red Fox anxiously. "I felt a little regretful about telling the truth to Red Fox." "Oh, okay, I won't laugh." Red Fox finally controlled his laughter. Glancing at the worried expression on Len Ning's face, Honghu felt soft and couldn't bear to see her being bullied by their boss. "Xiaoning, you haven't thought about it? Maybe the boss has more affection for you than brother and sister." Then he said to Len Ning. Len Ning was stunned. A flower suddenly exploded in my mind. But it only took a moment before he shook his head in frustration. "It's unlikely. I feel, brother may like men." Then he said with some frustration. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kge Now. Chapter 358. Pook ha 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 ha. The Red Fox laughed instantly, and then even laughed. Len Ning. After a long time passed, the Red Fox barely suppressed his smile. He was about to speak to Len Ning, but when he saw the sad expression on Len Ning's face, the Red Fox almost couldn't hold back his smile. "This little girl, I just thought she was smart, capable. Why does she look so stupid and cute now?" Ahem. After clearing his throat, the Red Fox controlled his smile again. "I can tell you clearly that the boss definitely doesn't like men." Len Ning felt happy, but after a while, he became a little melancholy. "How do you know it's not a good thing to like men? Even if they are in a four-color group, I'm afraid I won't let them know." Red Fox blinked at Len Ning. Is seeing the boss falling in love with a girl considered evidence? Len Ning's heart suddenly hurt, as if being pricked by a needle. Seeing the change in Len Ning's expression, the Red Fox raised the corners of his mouth. "Why don't you ask who that girl is?" and then asked. "Look at this pitiful little appearance. I'm afraid he really loves their boss." "What a sin. Boss. Normally, my beloved hurts her like a baby, but this time I had the heart to hide it, causing others to think that I had unrequited love." Tisk tisk. Len Ning said one word. He wanted to ask the girl's name, but decided against it. So what if she knew the name, she didn't know the other person? "Aren't you looking for trouble for yourself? Is she still alive?" After hanging his head in sadness for a while, Len Ning raised his head and asked Red Fox. "If she is still alive, she quits. Let the eldest brother be with the woman he loves. But if she is no longer there, she will fight for it." Soften your older brother's heart and make him love himself. It was also at this moment that Len Ning realized that in her heart she was so eager to die for someone who had no grievances against her. A live red fox looked at Len Ning and nodded with a smile. The hope in Len Ning's eyes instantly dissipated, and he seemed to have lost most of his energy, and his face became pale. And she's at Thunder Base looking at Len Ning's reaction, Red Fox continued. Len Ning's heart ached again. Just in the base, when asking this question, Len Ning found that she seemed to be unable to feel the things around her. I just feel confused and numb, accompanied by cramping. How about I work harder and help you get rid of her? Red Fox suddenly leaned over and came to Len Ning's forehead. Len Ning's eyes flashed. An evil thought suddenly surged in my heart. But it only took 3 seconds before he avoided the Red Fox's gaze and lowered his head. She is the person that Big Brother likes. Don't hurt her then, he said in a deep voice. Looking at Len Ning's expression, the Red Fox also stood up again. Good guy, miss, such a kind and good baby, was almost tempted to do bad things because of her boss. He is truly worthy of being the boss. No one can escape if he takes action. Don't worry, I can't bear to do anything to her. Red Fox glanced at Len Ning and said cheerfully. Finally realizing something was wrong, Len Ning immediately raised his head and looked at Red Fox. Red Fox stepped forward and touched Len Ning's head. Really don't want to know her name. The expression on his face was full of teasing. There was a flash of fluctuation in Len Ning's eyes, and he had some vague guesses, but he was not sure. The Red Fox raised the corner of his mouth and made an expression as if he was ready to let go and leave. Sister Hunghu. Len Ning hurriedly stopped Hunghu. Seeing the Red Fox looking at him again, Len Ning finally asked, Sister Hunghu, please tell me the name of my eldest brother's sweetheart. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 359. Perhaps having done enough psychological preparation, Len Ning did not dodge this time and looked directly into the Red Fox's eyes. The Red Fox curled his lips, admiring Len Ning's appearance very much. Silly girl, besides you, who else can the boss like? Then he said with a smile. Len Ning's expression froze on the spot. After a while, the corners of his mouth raised several times in a row. As if he couldn't believe what he was hearing. You're kidding me. Then, while laughing, he held a pink fist and put it into the Red Fox's arms. Ha ha. Red Fox dodged and laughed. Then he saw that Len Ning seemed to be in a bad mood, so he finally didn't dare to hide anymore, and let Len Ning throw himself into his arms. Feeling that the person in his arms was indeed crying, the Red Fox regretted for the first time that he had gone too far with his joke. Bully me. You all bully me. While crying, Len Ning knocked on Red Fox's shoulder. Red Fox felt it all and felt heartbroken. At the same time, he looked around again, worried that others would see them like this. This is the boss's baby bump. If he knew that he made his baby bump cry like this, she would probably shed her skin. My fault. Oh, don't cry. Miss, don't cry. Red Fox hurriedly comforted Len Ning. Who knew that it would be okay if he didn't comfort him, but when he comforted Len Ning, he cried even harder. In fact, Len Ning cried not more because of grievance, but because of too much pressure. The pressure of work and unrequited love for her older brother. After experiencing what happened in her previous life, she regarded Lei's mother and Lei Ting as her closest relatives. When she discovered that she had other feelings for Lei Ting besides family, she was both happy and worried. She wanted to become a couple with her eldest brother, but she was afraid that confessing her love rashly would break the relationship with her eldest brother. This sense of panic never goes away. Until just now, this feeling was forced to the extreme by Red Fox. In addition, these days, she has been working in the vegetable base all day long, busy with large and small things, which is a huge pressure in itself. This led to her emotional breakdown after she just learned the truth and relaxed. Holding the red fox in my arms was just to find a way for me to let my emotions out. She is still just a little girl after all, and she is far from as strong as she thinks. Fortunately, the person in front of her was Red Fox, the sister who could embrace her and allow her to be vulnerable for a while. It's okay, it's okay. Oh, I was just kidding. Red Fox patted Len Ning's back to comfort him. The more he hugged Len Ning, the softer the Red Fox's heart became, and the more sorry and distressed he felt for Len Ning. This girl is used to seeing her in glory these days, but her current fragile appearance is really heart-wrenching. After 3 minutes, Len Ning finally vented his emotions and let go of Red Fox. After wiping away her tears, Len Ning was still sobbing a little, and her eyes looking at the Red Fox were filled with sadness. In fact, it was more out of embarrassment, but the sad eyes were more suitable to show off at the moment to make the other party feel guilty. My fault, my fault. Don't be angry, Red Fox apologized quickly. Tell me how to calm down, and I will definitely do it. Seeing that Len Ning's expression remained unchanged, Red Fox said hurriedly. I owe it. If you insist on teasing others, you will get into trouble now. Then help me. Len Ning finally spoke. Okay, what do you want me to help you with? Red Fox agreed quickly. Help me catch my eldest brother. Len Ning burst into tears and smiled. The Red Fox was stunned for a moment, then started laughing. The hanging heart finally settled. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 360. Then he glared at Len Ning angrily. You damn girl, you are so scheming. Are you going to agree? Len Ning pouted and glanced at the Red Fox. Ha, Red Fox stepped forward, grabbed Len Ning's hand, and asked her to hold her arm again. Then he led her forward. For someone like the boss, it's not easy for you to chase him, Red Fox said as he walked. Len Ning's heart suddenly felt warm. How do you know that eldest brother likes me? Then he asked shyly. She believed that Red Fox was not joking about this matter, but she still felt unsure. After all, the eldest brother is too perfect in her eyes. Not only do I know, but everyone in the four-color group doesn't know it. Red Fox curled his lips and said. Seeing Len Ning's confused expression, Red Fox looked like, why did I think you were smart before? Shaking his head helplessly, Red Fox continued, have you ever seen the boss treat any woman who is more considerate than you? Len Ning shook his head, really not. Not only that, except for Red Fox, she had never seen a woman of the right age beside her eldest brother. But he is my eldest brother, maybe he only thinks of me as his sister, Len Ning said with some unconfidence. Red Fox rolled his eyes, what about my girl who is also the boss? Do you think he is gentle to me? Although the relationship between their four-color group and their boss is nominally master and subordinate, in many cases they are just like brothers. They even swore an oath to each other, and it was not an exaggeration to say that she was the eldest sister. But neither the boss nor the other three of them seemed to have ever regarded her as a woman. Well, talking about this, she felt really frustrated. Len Ning glanced at Red Fox up and down. Seeing the graceful figure of the Red Fox, his face turned red. Sister Honghu, you are so beautiful, he continued. This is what she finds strange. Sister Honghu is so mature and beautiful, and she often dazzles in front of the eldest brother's eyes. Why is the eldest brother not attracted by her? Red Fox felt happy. This girl has a sweet mouth. Put away those speculations in your mind. Although I am very popular with men outside, in the eyes of the boss, I am no different from Huang Ho and the others, just like a man. Having said this, Red Fox felt a little angry. The boss is really disrespectful. Len Ning pulled 3 black lines from his forehead. What's your expression? It's the boss's problem, okay. He looks at women so weirdly, Red Fox said, a little unhappy. Seeing Len Ning looking at him unblinkingly, Red Fox cleared his throat and calmed down his somewhat excited mood. Ahem, it's just weird. There are only two kinds of opposite sex in the eyes of the boss. Len Ning was confused. One is for you, and the other is for others, Red Fox said with some frustration. Fortunately, she has always been confident in her beauty, but their boss is really a rock. What girl is not pregnant? When she was young, she had a vague yearning for the boss. But after she made sure that he completely regarded her as a man, the little fire that arose in her heart was extinguished by her in 2 seconds. Ah, Len Ning suspected that he heard wrongly. Is she so special in the eyes of eldest brother? Let me tell you a few things. Red Fox glanced at Len Ning. Yeah, Len Ning nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. 2 years ago, the big star XXX once offered an olive branch to the boss and even took the initiative to find a hotel. Red Fox looked at Len Ning ambiguously. Len Ning's heart tightened. What's going on? The boss was taking a shower when the woman sneaked into his room. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 361. Len Ning looked nervous. Don't be nervous. Our boss is like the ancestor of Lu Ziyi. Even sitting in the arms is not enough to describe him. Red Fox patted Len Ning on the shoulder. That woman was thrown out by the boss less than 5 minutes after she entered. Haha, recalling the scene at that time, Red Fox couldn't help laughing. The peerless beauty in everyone's eyes could not stay in the boss's room for 5 minutes. Len Ning couldn't help but laugh. It's just that she was thrown out. The woman was still covered in red fruits at the time, and the boss didn't even give her a piece of clothing to cover her body. The boss was wearing a bathrobe at the time, and his hair was wet. He had obviously just come out of the shower. It had been less than 5 minutes since the woman entered. If we start counting from the time when the boss discovered the woman, strictly speaking, she might not have even stayed for the full 5 minutes. In such a short time, he took off his clothes, and the woman was really horny. Len Ning. At that time, that boy Huang Hao was looking at the woman with his eyes rolling, and he was so amused to death. Red Fox said with a smile. After all, she is a top female star, and there is nothing to say about her figure. Brother, the defense is so tight, and you are here. How did XXX get in? Len Ning asked without daring to think too much about the scene that Red Fox was talking about. Huang Monkey. That boy saw that his boss had been a stoic all these years and made his own decisions, so he let the woman in. Red Fox said without thinking. Among them, Huang Hao is the only troublemaker. He is passionate about finding a woman for his boss. I don't even think about who their boss is. He has already identified someone. How could he change his mind so easily? That boy, I thought I would take the opportunity to please the boss and ask for some credit or something, but who would have thought, haha dash, he kicked the iron plate. Thinking of the punishment the yellow monkey suffered afterwards, the Red Fox laughed. Len Ning's face turned a little gloomy. Yellow monkey, although like the other members of the four-color team, is pretty good to her. But sometimes, he seemed to have something against himself. In his previous life, he was the person in the four-color group who opposed him the most, and even almost took action against him at one point. Don't think too much about it. That kid just admires the boss too much and can't bear to see the boss hanging on a tree like a fool like you. Noticing Len Ning's expression, Red Fox patted Len Ning's shoulder and said. Len Ning laughed suddenly. Eldest brother is indeed very good. It's normal for brother Huang to think that I'm not good enough for him, he then said. After all, even she herself felt that she was not worthy of her eldest brother. Don't underestimate yourself. Red Fox looked at Len Ning with a smile. Now your power level is not inferior to that of the boss, and you also have a vegetable base and a pharmaceutical factory. How many women can have this ability? Red Fox stretched out his finger and hooked Len Ning's chin. You are also good looking. The most important thing is the appetite for the boss. After saying this, there was a hint of envy in his eyes. That's you. If it were anyone else, I would be jealous, Red Fox said sourly. Len Ning blushed and avoided Red Fox's hand. I'm not as good as you said then, he said sheepishly. Even though he said that, after listening to Red Fox's words, Len Ning felt much more confident. Initially she just wanted to do this to contribute to the Thunder base and help her big brother. Later, what I thought more about was to make myself stronger and become a woman good enough to match my elder brother. Now that she knows that her elder brother treats her differently, she has to work harder. Haha, girl. Excessive modesty is pride, Red Fox blinked at Len Ning.